Squatter removal services are advertised as a way to help landlords and property management companies deal with unsavory situations. But they may also be providing a way for property owners to skirt the legal process. 7 Action News reporter Mike Duffy is looking into these services and what you can do if you find yourself face to face with one of them.
What would you do if someone showed up to your house saying you and your family were squatting and telling you had 24 hours to leave? Well, it's exactly what happened to a mother of 5 who lived here in this house, and now she's sharing her story.
He knocked on my door. He had some paperwork in his hand. He was like, you supposed to be here illegally squatting, and by law got to put you out within 24 hours.
Jessica Coleman's recalling the interaction she had with a man from a squatter removal service last December. Outlier Media first reported her story. Not even a month earlier, the house Coleman was living in was sold. She had been on a month-to-month lease until that point and says her gas service was cut off shortly after the sale, and she had been fighting with the new owners to get it back on. Coleman says she explained as much and even gave a copy of her lease to the man who showed up at her door wearing a bulletproof vest, a badge, and a body camera.
The next day, it was a letter on the door from him saying they would come back and remove my stuff.
7 Action News obtained a copy of that letter stuck to the door with orange tape. It reads, "You are illegally possessing this property. You have 24 hours to evacuate the premises or a removal team will return to bring out your property. If you are still here, you can be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Whole Armor Protection LLC, Squatter Removal Service." Coleman says he also threatened to call Child Protective Services. So, she says, to avoid the cold conditions, threat of being removed, and headaches with CPS, she grabbed everything she could and got out just days before Christmas. That man is Roland Arrington, the owner of Whole Armor Protection. He left his number on the letter posted on Coleman's door, so I reached out to him for clarification.
Hey, Mr. Arrington, this is Mike Duffy with 7 Action News.
He didn't want to do an interview, but Arrington confirmed to me he was hired by Lennox Property Management. However, he affirmed Coleman was not a squatter, insisting there was no forced removal and no threats. But Coleman feels differently.
What do you call that if somebody put a letter on your door and then they tell you got 24 hours or they coming back to remove your stuff?
Someone did call CPS. They did come out and investigated Coleman, eventually clearing her. I reached out to Lennox Property Management for clarification about the whole ordeal. They told me to call their attorney, Erin Cox, who did not return my call. The receptionist, who would not identify herself, told me we're not commenting at this time. Joe McGuire with the Detroit Justice Center is representing Coleman.
It's pretty shocking the lengths to which some landlords go to avoid the normal court process. To use the techniques that were used in this case, I think is very abhorrent and illegal.
He has some advice for other landlords considering such squatter removal services.
Err on the side of caution. There is no reason to use these squatter removal services when the court process is plenty quick enough, when there is a danger of liability for you and your employees.
I still wanted a better idea of these squatter removal services, so I sat down with Robert Day with the Detroit Eviction Defense.
We've been hearing more, and so we believe it's becoming more common.
I told Day that Arrington is adamant he did not threaten Coleman.
He did threaten her. Of course he threatened her. You'll be arrested. I'm coming to throw all your stuff out. What? Those are threats. Those are standard threats.
So what can people do if they find themselves in this kind of situation? McGuire explained.
As much as you can, get your documentation together and in order. I would call legal aid. There's Lakeshore Legal Aid, there's United Community Housing Coalition, there's my organization, Detroit Justice Center.
As for Coleman, she says she's a fighter.
I feel like if I don't say nothing or speak up, I'm trying to help somebody else or this don't happen to nobody again.
In Detroit, Mike Duffy, 7 Action News.
Yeah, thank goodness she shed the light on a story like this. Now, removing squatters without going through the courts is actually legal in Michigan because of a change in the law in 2014, but keep in mind, that person must actually be a squatter. We will continue to follow this story.